Welcome to The Bridge, the official podcast for the University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Pharmacy Patients Program. The Patients Program is the bridge between the community and the researchers. The Patients Program created this partnership to help researchers listen to the community's voice in order to build a bridge to an effective learning healthcare community. Here's your host, Rodney Elliott.
I'm here today with 2/3 of the Patients Day 2023 book panel. Two brothers, friends of mine who are shakers and movers here in Baltimore, but also nationally as well. Kondwani Fidel, he's a poet, author, assistant professor of English at Coppin State University right here in Baltimore, and also the author of Hummingbirds in the Trenches. And his right-hand man, his colleague, his shooting guard to Kondwani being the point guard, D. Watkins, New York Times bestseller, author, screenwriter, and college lecturer. Many more for both of these guys, as far as accolades is concerned, but he's also the author of Black Boy Smile. Fellas, how you guys doing?
I mean, I got one push, but I'm the point, man. I'm the point. I run the offense, man. Connie he fouls people, he sets picks, he intimidates the other people on the team, he yells at refs.
But look, when they need me, they need me. Play my part. I know my position.
Shoot first point guard.
Listen, when I say you guys are part of a team here in Baltimore that I follow and watch and admire from afar, you guys are leaders in your communities. So D, if you the point guard, and Con, you the
Draymond. He Draymond. He Draymond. The glue.
Well, I love the fact that I got a championship caliber podcast right now. I got a championship caliber panel for Patients Day, and I'm super excited about it. And I'm glad you guys accepted to be a part of the panel because we've talked to people over there in West Baltimore on numerous occasions, and they love books. They like to read. They want education. They want information. And Patients Day this year, we're going to bring that to them. Again, like I mentioned earlier, guys, D. Watkins and Kondwani are 2/3 of the book panel that we're having for Patients Day. Jennifer Pope of Baltimore, she's the author of Music in My Therapy. She'll be joining us as well. You guys, I want to dive right in and pick their brains a little bit about some of the work they're doing, some of the work they've done, the projects they have going on, and see where there's a connection in this mental health space. Mental health is a big topic. It's a very broad topic, and it's talked about in a lot of different circles, a lot of different mediums. But these two guys, and I will say this, they aren't doctors, they aren't mental health experts, but they definitely know a little bit of something about connecting with their listeners and connecting with their audience. So I'm going to start my first question off for both of you guys. D, I'll ask you go first, and then Con, you can chime in. What are some of the most common misconceptions about mental health, and how can we address them?
I think the first thing we need to do, so I'll start with the top of the question. Most common misconception is that most of us, we think we're okay. We think we're totally fine. We live in a city where there's a lot of violence, a lot of pain, a lot of horrible things. And I never knew this until I started traveling outside of Baltimore a lot. And when I would tell people I'm from Baltimore, they would like, hey, can you give me a hug? Can I give you a hug? And I'd be, and I'm like, what you want to hug me for? It's such a rough place. And my answer is like, no, but I don't want to be touched because that's a trauma response. That's something that comes from being from Baltimore, right? We're in a place where like we grew up, the human interaction is not really, amongst our family and friends, but you go to the corner store, they got bulletproof glass up. You know what I'm saying? These are people outside of our community who are like, have bulletproof glass up when they come, when you go inside their place of business. So it's like, I think the biggest misconception is that we think we're okay because we're not exposed to people who are mentally healthy, who understand their traumas, who understand that the things that happen to them is not their fault. And we carry these things around and we don't talk about them and we don't share. And a lot of us explode or get high blood pressure or have heart attacks or die because of the trauma that we face and it's untreated. So how do we treat it? We acknowledge it. We abandon that exterior of I'm so tough, nothing can faze me, or I'm not crowned, I'm the toughest person in the world. We get rid of that and we get into who we really are, so that we can grow and move forward and have meaningful relationships.
And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is it's kind of a lot what D said. We not taught to deal well. We taught how to do well in school. We taught how to survive in the streets. Mm-hmm. And it's like you get a certain age and you do things, you know, that feel like it's out of your control, whether you snapping out on people or not knowing how to channel your emotions. You know, I just always think about so many relationships that probably, you know, got soiled because somebody might be like, so-and-so acting funny today or something, but we don't even know what's going on. They're not acting funny. They probably dealing with something. And like I didn't realize that Baltimore was a peculiar place, you know, until I went to college. You know, you share stories, and I'm just sharing stories in the cafeteria or in the dorm room, or if we shooting dice or whatever. And these people who from New York, Jersey, Chicago, and they like, what? You know what I mean? When I'm just telling random stories about a random day at the pool, and, you know, it might be guns involved, or, you know, it might be some street. And it's like, and I'm thinking it's rich Black people and poor Black people. I never knew like what a middle class was.
Yeah.
And they looked at me like I was crazy, but this out every day. You know what I mean? So I think that the biggest misconception is that, like, you know, we think we okay, we think we are right, until you meet somebody, you know, that's outside of where we come from, and they looking at us like we crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know, I just feel like that once you start going outside of your box, outside of your neighborhood, you just realize how different this city. You know, mental health is an American problem. However, but it's like for us, it's kind of just on steroids a little bit. You know,
I can relate with that with both of you guys as far as traveling outside of Baltimore. Outside of my comfort zone, and realizing that Baltimore is unique and it's different. And when I traveled overseas to play ball in Europe, I got that all the time. When I talk to my other Americans from other teams, and like, dude, I'm from Baltimore. Oh, you from home in the Wire? My original question would be like, yeah, I'm from Wire, but it's not. That's just a great series that HBO did, and they got some good pockets of Baltimore, but it's not like that. More and more, I started going overseas and kept answering that question, and come back home in the summer. Yeah, Baltimore is like the Wire, but it is home to us.
Right.
It is home to us.
Right.
And that is just, you know, who it is and what we are. And we had that tough exterior from the issues and trauma that we've experienced in our, you know, livelihoods growing up. But it also, I think, give us a strength and a different appeal, and a different view, a different lens, so to speak. And that kind of leads me to my next question. When you guys are writing, or when you guys are screenwriting or writing books, or, you know, you're writing poems, can you share some personal connection or experiences that influences your portrayal of mental health in your work? So is there some mental health aspects that you have or you address in your work, Con? And then D. Watkins, you can chime in on that.
So when I first started writing, I was literally just mimicking the people that I was listening to, whether it was Jay-Z, Lauryn Hill, Pac, Boosie, and, you know, we believe that they writing about their real life, right? So that's all that I was doing, right? Because I remember when I was a kid, and I say this all the time, like Boosie was one of the first people that made me feel okay to be human and being a street dude, but also, you know, can talk about your emotions. So I'm just doing what they doing, but I'm not thinking that I'm writing about no big ideas. I'm not thinking about that I'm being political by just speaking about my day that I had, or my relationship with my parents and my friends or whatever, until, you know, people started hitting me up from Hopkins and different universities like, hey, you know, your work is talking about the school to prison pipeline. And I'm like, what is that? And they like, hey, you know, that your work is exploring, you know, mental health and all these things in the city. And I really did not know. So by me accepting these gigs, you know, because I was just trying to just get more visibility. You know what I mean? I just started just learning more about my work. And then when I learned what it was doing, then I kind of switched it up a little bit and was like explicitly trying to, you know, teach people about these things through my work. But at first I really didn't know. I'm just like, I'm about to just talk about my real life and my real struggles. You know what I mean? And that was that. But I didn't think of anything that was related to academia when I first started. But there was people that saw stuff in me, you know, and pulled it out of me. And I thank those people as well, for real.
For sure.
Something that was transformative to me, and it kind of ties to your first question to the second question, is I'm just sitting here thinking about when did I start to see the world differently, right? And I went right back my first time out in LA in like 2007. And I wasn't a writer. I wasn't you know, I didn't have any ambitions on being a storyteller. I was just out in LA. And and through one of my homeboys that was already out in LA, I met this dude named Jimmy. And my homeboy Sean introduced me to this dude named Jimmy. And Sean had a girlfriend, but I met some girls, and Jimmy was like, yo, I'm rolling with you, right? So we out in LA, right? And we know we hanging out or whatever, we walking around and we going in stores and we chilling. And I remember we was like in the lounge, and the dude bumped into him and almost knocked him over, right? And I tense up. I'm like, yo, what? And Jimmy was like, he walks up to the dude and he's like, hey man, you bumped into me, you good? And he brushes off the dude's shirt and he gives him a little pat on the back and he says, have a good day. And then he sit out and I'm like, yo, what? Like, yo, you just gonna let me walk with you? He was like, yeah, sure. He's like, what do I? And he had his little LA accent because he not from LA. He from down south somewhere. But he got his LA accent because he been out there for a minute. But he was like, am I dead? Am I hurt? Am I bleeding? Did anything happen to me? No. He was like, are the girls still gonna meet us here? They're coming? Do I look nice? Am I cool? Am I cool? Why do I care? And I'm like, wow. And my mind is spinning. And I'm like, wow. And I never forget. I had a similar conversation with Pooh Bear. Jump shooter, Cornelius McMurray. I had a conversation with Pooh Bear. And Pooh Bear, he like, Lord, bro, I'm gonna tell you something, man. He said, yo, I did not realize how much I was punishing myself by not talking to or building relationships with people outside of my neighborhood. He said, if there was a time where if you wasn't from here or this place or that place, I didn't want to hear nothing you had to say, right? And I'm like, yo, that is, and then so I got knocked to one wall, and then I got knocked to the next wall because I'm like, this is somebody I grew up respecting a lot, right? I used to, for a minute, I used to try to shoot like Pooh Bear, but I can't, you know, I'm more of a rock shooter. I'm not a gooseneck guy. You know what I'm saying? So this is a stranger who's opening my world up, somebody who I respect and you know, and really, really looked up to when I was younger, telling me, you know, giving me his own version of that story. And then I started thinking about the amount of people, friends and family members and homeboys that I lost to just stupid, like randomness, like stupid stuff. Like
Decision making.
Yo, because I want to fight you and I want to prove that I'm dominant and I got to show you I'm so shallow and insecure. I'm so weak that I have to fight you because you bumped into me, even though my Nikes are still clean. You didn't even spill food on me. Nothing happened. It's just the point that I need you to think, I need the world to think and know that you can't bump into me is the dumbest thing like ever. And that's how we talk. So I think in my work, especially in Black Boy Smile, I try my best to poke holes in that. I've helped stomp out people who I didn't want to fight. I've been stomped out by people who didn't want to fight me. Both sides of the boot. You know what I'm saying? And it's not because I wanted to do this. These were the rules that were given to me in the society and in where we were from. And I'm a rule. I followed those rules. So that's how mental health makes it into my work, because it pokes holes at how insecure we are and how if we were able to follow our real feelings and what we really believed about and what we really cared about, then we would have more quality lives.
Hey, D, so I got a question, right? Is it really, like, where does the weakness and insecurity come from when it's also a survival tactic? Because it's like, if you keep letting people round the way bump into you every day, now you're the person that, so I don't know, when I'm hearing it, I'm saying it from the other side, like, maybe it's insecurity and weakness, but it's also, I'm not about to be letting people play with me because then you fool. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's America. That's because that's not a hood thing. That's America's insecurity. This is why we had a military agenda every year since the beginning of this country. This is why we bomb smaller countries with less resources. It's power and control, but it's all rooted in the need to be at the top of the food chain. Which literally, like, I mean, and you tell me this, like, what joy or what kind of happiness did you ever get from pushing over somebody that was already falling? You know what I'm saying? What kind of, I mean, what we I'm not saying that we're the architects of that mentality. I'm saying that, you know, slaves were beaten to submission too. Slaves were beat for no reason too. They were bullied too. So they're growing up seeing the powerful person is the guy who can dominate everybody and control everything. That person was insecure and weak too. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not even talking about the person who's taking a punch. I'm talking about the person who's throwing a punch for no reason at all. Yeah. You know what I mean? The person, you're going to protect yourself to survive is one thing, but I'm saying the person throwing the punch is the weakest person, is what I'm saying.
Con, I like the way you bounce that question back to DY, and I've been in environments where I've seen hostile conversations, I've seen fights, I've seen all of that, and I'm talking about in the neighborhood, I'm talking about in college, I'm talking about even in a restaurant. But when I'm observing, I see fear in both people. I see fear and frustration in both people. I see fear and frustration in people who's about to get hit. I see fear and frustration and trauma in the person that's actually delivering the punch, particularly in those issues where you talked about, D, where you said the bullying aspect, or, you know, a bigger country or a bigger person or someone already down being bullied or hit on or pushed on by someone of bigger or higher, more resources. That's happens in every aspect, not only in war, not only in history as far as slavery is concerned, but particularly here in Baltimore. And you guys do a great job of communicating about it, for one, put it out on the table, no matter what table it is. And I love your tables. You guys got a table in East Baltimore, West Baltimore, in the library, and in these dorm rooms, and these dorms, and in colleges and everywhere.
So one night, right, I was just out the hospital. I was walking with like a crutch or like a cane or something, right? And me and Connie was hanging together, and my homeboy was in town from San Francisco. We went to a nightclub, right? So we chilling, we in a spot. It's us three. We laid back. We having a good time. We laughing and joking. One of Connie's classmates walked past us. A lady. She said hello. Her boyfriend loses his mind because she said hello. He literally pops his top because it's like, what are you doing knowing people? Like, she didn't say hello with like a hug. She didn't say it with like a wink. You would think she like flashed us or something. She literally just said hello to Connie. In that moment, I'm angry because what is he so angry for? I'm angry because, like, what's the problem? But then when you pull back from it, I'm like, yo, he has to be the weakest person ever created. He is very weak now. He scared her. He bullied her. He intimidated her. He got the bouncers and the bodyguards to come get all involved. And he did all of that because he's insecure and he's weak. So that's that weakness that I'm talking about, the ability of you have control over nothing in your life. You can't control where you eat. You can't control where you stay. You can't control how you get your money. You literally at the bottom of the bottom. The only thing you can manipulate and control is this young lady you with. And when you felt that control being,
yeah, but don't say young lady. He kept saying my old lady.
His old lady. Yeah, he kept saying, I don't know why my old lady. Why you waving at my old lady? And I'm like,
bro, this is my classmate.
So you can't control nothing in your life except for this lady that you with. And the minute you feel some threat to that control, you're ready to burn everything down around you. And that is the weakness that I'm talking about. That is that fragility that I was touching on.
The issues that our community hasn't dealt with or hasn't been dealt with, that continuously spears their ugly head in situations where it's totally no need for.
That guy could have easily lost his life that night. And I tell everybody, I've been saying this for a long time, the jail and the funeral home are full of fragile, insecure people. They full of people who can't control their emotions. They act childish, and then they do things that unfortunately take their lives away. So when it comes to tying that element of mental health to the work, at times I'm delicate, but at times I'm extremely, I'm not delicate at all, because I feel like it's urgent. Like we're living in a dangerous time. We're dealing with dangerous people. Really bad things are happening, and we can't let this new way that society tries to tap dance and allow people to not be held accountable for their actions. We can't do that. We gotta run towards it, or the world is not going to be good for our kids.
For our viewers and listeners right now, I'm talking to D. Watkins, author of Black Boy Smile, Kondwani Fidel, author of Hummingbirds in the Trenches. They will be at Patience Day, Friday, October 13th. Come out, check out the panel, check out the health fair, and just let you know we will have books available for our guests. So you get an opportunity to hear a little bit more about the work that D. Wax, Kondwani, and Jennifer Pope are doing. You also get an opportunity to meet them, but also get an opportunity to also have their book. So come on out and check us out, what we got going on for Patience Day. And as we continue our conversation, Con, there's a quote that resonates with me the first time you sat down at our Patience Day years ago, and I'm going to read two of them. You said, when you were a kid growing up, not a kid, I take that back. When you were in college, it wasn't that you didn't like to read, it was that you didn't like what you were reading. And then as I'm doing my research and looking at some of the reviews from your book, Hummingbird in the Trenches, there's a review that said, I have this book on my coffee table. Someone always picks it up and reads a couple of pages and shows some type of emotion. How does that make you feel, coming from a person that, for one, didn't necessarily like reading, but just didn't like what they were reading, to now writing art that makes people show emotion? How does that make you feel?
So my first book that I wrote, I was just enthused by the idea, like, that books live longer than people. And at that time in my life, when I was still in undergrad, everybody either dying or going to prison. And I just had this big fear that I was going to die soon. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of normal here. So I was like, I want to write a book. And I'm like, I want to put this book out because I want to say how I feel and what I go through, and not have other people tell it. You know what I mean? And that was just that. And I kind of rushed it out. I believe that it's 100% garbage, but some people think whatever. But that's neither here nor there. But, I literally, like, it's kind of like you don't know what you do until you do it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm an emotional dude, you know what I mean? Like, and Dia tell you, but it's like, I just be doing the same thing that I said that these artists that I read and look up to do. And it's always, I always be grateful, you know what I mean? When people, can connect with my work, just like how I connected with the Boosies or the Toni Morrisons or the Jasmine Mans, the Jasmine Wards, the D. Watkins. You know what I mean? Like, D was the first, the B-side D book was the first book that I read that literally has street names in a book. And I'm like, I'm literally walking through the book. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just be grateful to be able to do that to people. You know what I mean? Like, they say, I've been reading my whole life, but this hit different. This is something different. I can connect to this. And when I'm writing, I don't be trying to connect to people. I just be trying to just, explain myself the best way that I know how. I'll be funny sometimes, throw some slick language in there. And you know what I mean? And it's just always a blessing when people do react to it in a way, you know what I mean? And they share it with other people, and they, read it when they're on planes or they teach it in schools. And it's just like, that would be a thing.
Reading on plane, teaching in schools. I love it when I come across something that you guys wrote, or maybe something that Brandy may post, your management guys over there at 410 Management. I follow her as well, and she may say, okay, Con and D. Watkins are in LA, or they're in Chicago, or they're somewhere at a school, at a college, and I flat out love that, because again, the way you guys tell stories, or the way I read your books, it kind of reminds me back to when I used to buy CDs. And when you bought a CD, you could literally take out the paper in the inside and open it up. You could read the lyrics to the song. You can read who produced it. You can, see some pictures that kind of go along with the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do a great job of storytelling. How do you hope your book or the work that you guys do can contribute to reducing the stigma and maybe increasing understanding around mental health?
What our work does is it shows, it gives a different perspective, and it shows one segment of people that they're not alone, but then it connects a different segment of people to a lot of the pain and struggles and frustrations that we go through. We're vulnerable, and that's something that we all can relate to, so it brings us together. But at the same time, my trip to the top, my trip to success is not what the average successful American, it doesn't mirror their journey. For example, when I make it, it's 30 people hand in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, somebody else makes it, it's, it might just be them and their wife, girlfriend, their kid, their, whatever. So it's like, which is a different type of trauma and a different type of pain and a different thing. So I think when we doing our work, we give other people a glimpse into different realities, and then they become more empathetic and they become more understanding, and they are able to acknowledge their own shortcomings, their own privileges, and at the same time their own strengths on how we can connect more. So the work doesn't necessarily give you a play-by-play action on what you should do, how you should think, or how you should feel. Nobody likes didactic, do it like this text. But I think what it does do is say, wow, I could read Kanye and be like, oh, he's from a different generation than me. Oh, this is his pain. This is what he go through. This is the kind of stuff that's on his mind. When maybe this is why he listens to Dirk. This is why he listens to whoever, 42 Doug. I don't know. Like these are the things that connect. These are the things that he's going through. This is what he believes in. Me walking them same streets 10, 20 years before him had a whole different outlook, a whole different way to move. But I see the similarities, I see the differences. So now I can respect that brother, his culture, his ideas, instead of saying, back in my day, we had music that mattered. I can, we can trade these things off and we all become better.
When you like even in Black Boy Smile, it's something, and I don't want to butcher it, but you were saying something like how our egos, what you call weaknesses, that's kind of like the only thing that we own. You know what I mean? So we flex it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that our stories and our emotions are the only true thing that we really own. Like, we don't own people. We don't own somebody can break into your house. Like, these are the only things that really can get rated for real. You know what I mean? And every step that I go on, every time I climb up the ladder, I just owe it to myself, to be honest, and I owe it to other people. You know what I mean? Because like this is what's going on. You know what I mean? This is how I feel. This is, you know what I mean? And again, it's like I'm not trying to change the way people think. Like, I don't care how people think about me, clearly. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't let people, you know what I mean? Like, all my books and my porch, you know what I mean? Everybody done been in my grandmother's house. You know what I mean? You read so much about my family. They know what my mother looked like, father looked like, just through words. They know what they do. They know where they at. They know when they came home. They know when they went to rehab.
Yeah.
And that wasn't, I look back at it like, damn, I done let a lot of people, you know what I mean, in my grandmother's house. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's for me. You know what I mean? Like, I have to. Like, I got to speak about my feelings. I got to speak about what's going on. You know what I mean? And I don't know, that's like a personal thing,
I think when you guys pour that much authenticity into your work, there's no way a reader or a listener can't hear that, understand that, or feel that. Now's the understanding part. You guys talked about being empathetic. You guys talked about your lived experiences are the anchor or the heart of your work. I know when I read it, I see it, I feel it as well. There's a connection for sure. And people may be wondering, why are Dee and Kondwani and Jennifer going to be participating in Patients Day? Because the connection that the Patients program has with the community is all about building relationships and establishing relationships. And that's both sides. We're talking about the community side, and we also talk about the research side. You think about research, you think about community and underserved populations, you don't see a lot of synergies in those two pots, so to speak. But when you have an organization or a group in between that understands a little bit about both, understand that there's a connection that if made properly, made right, and not abused, that greater things can come of that. So, when you guys started out, I know you guys probably said, okay, I'm gonna go out and write a book, or I'm gonna make this track, or and I want to get it out to my people. The fact of the matter that now you guys travel nationally, you guys got deals and you guys have a bigger spotlight. I love the fact that you guys have always stayed true and authentic to who you are, no matter what the environment is, no matter what the time is, no matter what the scenario is, and be quite honest, no matter who the audience is. But also understanding that in order for things to change, you guys got to kind of meet community where they are. You got to understand. You got to have your listening ears on, listen with your heart and your mind as well, and be able to communicate what needs to be done. But you guys do it in a way that is just, again, I can't say, I'm trying to find another word for authentic, like real, like it's just real, and it makes sense to me. So are there any upcoming projects where you plan to explore mental health topics in the future, in your writing, in your screenplays, in your art? You guys got anything going on coming up?
Working on something really big right now, but I can't talk about it. No, I'm joking. No, before we started the call, we was joking about how we hate when people say that. It's like, well, you're talking about it. Just by saying you can't talk about it is talking about it. You literally broke the only rule. I'm working on a book that deals with mental health in a serious way. As a young man by the name of Mike Africa Jr., and when he was 6 years old, Philadelphia Police Department, through direction of their first black mayor, Wilson Good, bombed his family's home. And this is like only time a police department dropped C4 on a residential neighborhood, like displaced hundreds of people, killed 11 people, 6 were children. And it was a devastating story, but he fought back. He fought to get his parents free from prison. He fought to take care of his family. He's still fighting to this day. So we're coming out with his book next year. Writing some stuff for doing some profiles for the Atlantic. My first one's Dwayne Wade. Just talking about the Hall of Fame and talking about his family life and talking about how he's like this America's first fully universal progressive athlete in his politics and how he engages different communities. And the fact that he got custody of his kids when he was a 20-something-year-old millionaire, something that people a lot of men still don't do, even when their kids are in a violent or dangerous situation. So I'm working on that, and still teaching and still touring off of whatever book people want me to come and talk about.
Gotcha. Kondwani, got something coming up going on?
Not really too much, just event speaking and teaching. That's pretty much it.
Well, guys, I appreciate your time taking out the day to chop it up with me a little bit about what you guys got going on, about Patients Day coming up. We're going to have 2 awesome panels. You're looking at 2 of the guests who are going to be there as well, but we're going to have some of the researchers and some of the stakeholders who understand the importance of addressing mental health. They're going to be speaking about the project that they're working on with the Southwest Partnership community. It's called Co-Pillar. So again, it's going to be a heavy concentration on mental health and addressing some of the stigmas around mental health. And then we're going to have fun. We're going to have a health fair at the end. So thank you guys for listening, as always, on The Bridge.
Thank you for listening to The Bridge podcast. To learn more about the Patience Program, visit our website at www.patience.umaryland.edu.